Almost ready, Ken.
All right.
YouTube's just warming up. Almost there, Ken. It bumped out, so hold on, I'm gonna try again to get on. Sorry. Okay, you're live. All set.
People who admit from the waiting room. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. The Shoreham Town Council meeting Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. The Shoreham Town Council is meeting via telecommunications pursuant to State of Rhode Island Executive Order 20-46 dated June 12th, 2020. Reminder that members of the public may speak once on a subject. Councilors will be recognized before other participants. Please do not speak before you are called on. Excuse me for a moment. Those of you on the telephones, please push *9 on your phone to raise your hand, and you'll be addressed by name and asked to speak. Push *6 on your phone to unmute and address. Push *6 to mute when finished speaking. Please remember this is a public meeting. Be patient. Zoom is a new format we're working with. Excuse me. Andre, could you start the first item on the agenda for me?
I'm sorry, Ken, can you repeat that?
Start the first item on the agenda for me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hang on a second. I'll pull up. So the first item on the agenda would be Warden's report. I don't have much, just that I was going to ask on behalf of a few of us that we get back to open meetings. We get off the Zoom platform and we get back into having regular meetings at the town hall, hopefully pretty soon. So I just want to, throw that out there for anybody who may agree with that. And maybe we can discuss it a little later. I don't know. Does anybody want to give Ken a chance for a Warden's report, or amend the agenda a bit for him to come back and do that? Or, oh, there he is.
I'm back. Thank you.
All right. I was at the point of, if you want to give a little bit of a Warden's report, if you have one.
I don't have one at the moment. It wasn't on the agenda, so I just
Okay.
roll into the other items on the agenda.
Number one's all you. Number one.
You're done?
I said number one is all you.
Oh, okay. You haven't started? Okay.
Number one.
Receive storm and mid-season mid-season report from Harbor Master. We did receive a report from Harbor Master Kate McConville on August 6th. I believe Kate is with us tonight. Here she is. Kate, thank you for the report. I'll just give a couple of highlights that the Harbor's Department was well prepared for the storm. Most individuals either left or got into moorings for the event. There was no damage or incident. The staff is continuing to wear masks and gloves as needed when interacting with the public, and no one's allowed in the summer office without a mask and use of hand sanitizer. Been gathering names and last names and phone numbers for everyone put in a town or private mooring for contact tracing. There were some changes made due to COVID-19 marina restrictions in the Old Harbor bathrooms, and it seems to be working out well. And Kate continues to keep in touch with the state and DEM regarding any COVID-19 updates that they should be following. And Kate, did you want to have any comment about the season overall at this point? Kate McConville, you're there? I thought I saw her here. There she is. Kate, can you hear me? I don't seem to have her. Okay, well, as the report continues, the boaters have been very respectful in both harbors this summer, and looking forward to continuing into the fall. And maintenance is ongoing on the boats. Pump out program continues to be fantastic, and the water quality shows compliance. And the sewer department has been delivered offload numbers. Anyone have any comments or questions on the harbor map report?
I think Kate just came in.
Kate McConville, are you there?
Okay, maybe not.
Hello.
Yeah, hey Kate, can you hear us?
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Sorry, I thought you were with us. I just basically gave a synopsis of your report, your mid-season report.
Yep.
Do you have any other comments to add other than what's in the report?
No, not so far. So far, so good. I'm looking forward to Labor Day.
As are we all.
I would just like to say one thing. The boaters out there have been fantastic. They're being supportive as much as they can. I've had a few complaints about rafting, but I have had no support or enforcement regarding rafting. So there's nothing I could have done about that all summer long. But everyone else is complying. Masks, social distancing, on the water at least.
Have you had any feedback from DEM along those lines?
No, not since mid-July.
Okay. Thank you, Kate. We hope
You're welcome.
your recovery is a speedy one.
Thank you.
Any questions for the harbor master at this point?
No, I just want to thank you, Ken. Kate, I just want to thank you for your, for getting it done out there this summer. From all accounts, I've also heard good things about the boaters out there, and I know that's you and your department, and I think I can speak on behalf of all of us that we really appreciate your efforts and all of theirs also. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Next item on the agenda is an update on holiday weekend activity. This kind of rolls into item number 4 also, discuss emergency services, medical center, fire department, and police department actions and feedback from the weekend. I think it can sort of meld into one discussion. Tracy, are you on? Tracy Fredericks?
Yep. Hi.
Great. Why don't we start with you? Obviously, the rescue squad and the medical center are in our focus, but if we could start with you. Do you have a report from the weekend?
The exact numbers I don't have in yet because not everything has been filed yet. But overall, it wasn't a hugely busy weekend. Yesterday was much quieter than we expected. I mean, of course, we had some very tragic, unfortunate events. So that's really all I have to report. I don't have the numbers. I apologize for just this weekend. I can give you numbers for the month so far, if that is at all helpful. So far, between beginning of August and the 11th, we've had a total of 3, which is actually right in line with last year between the state. I know there's a call ongoing right now, which is not. And I also have the numbers from July that I have all of them. So for this year, it was 121 calls. And then last year was 120. Just to break it down a little bit, I know I told you this the last time, the mopeds were 34 for this summer, whereas they were 18 for July of last summer, just to kind of give you some numbers on those. Mostly medical and falls, a lot of falls.
Okay. Let me just take a moment to say that our hearts are with the rescue squad and obviously the families of the victims of that tragedy over the weekend. We know how hard it is for everyone involved, and but particularly the rescue squad. These kind of things, these kind of situations stay with you, and you know that they'll be in your mind for quite a while. So we just thank you for your good service, and we appreciate you being there on scene and being able to help the victims as much as you could. But we will be thinking of you.
Thank you for that. Can I just take a second to say thank you to the numerous people in the community who stopped by just to say thank you, just to say, that they understand it was a difficult event. Lots of people brought us food and all kinds of things, but it was just really nice to get that support from everybody. And thank you to everybody who did that.
Thank you. Dr. Warkup, are you on? Did you want to have any, do you have an update for us of the holiday weekend activity?
I agree with Tracy that over the past 2 weekends, we've not had any fly-off secondary to moped accidents. We continue to have the bone fractures and road rash, but the severity of injuries does remain lower after some interventions have happened, despite the tragic MVA fatality on Sunday. But I would agree with the assessment over the last couple weekends has had a different flavor. And when you feel comfortable, I'm happy to share some COVID updates, but I'll leave that to your discretion.
Okay. Yeah, we'll let's talk about that in a moment. Thank you. Jim Kern, did you have a comment you want to make?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, just want to make sure. I'm a little out of sequence, but I don't think Ken could see my hand. I wanted to also commend Kate in her first year as a harbor master in an extraordinary year, how well it's gone on the waterfront, and then and all the people she works with, and wish her a speedy recovery, which is coming quickly. The only thing I would add is the communications I've had with the police chief and others line up with what Tracy said and Dr. Warkup said, which is that was calmer, particularly Saturday and Sunday, with respect to operation of motor vehicles and bicycles. I guess Monday a little less so. And I would, to the extent that we want to get into the details, I would ask that Chief Carlone identify the application of the security people with the moped effort. We discussed it at some length last meeting, and kind of what the plan is going forward.
Then before you do that, Kirk Littlefield, did you say you had some numbers, all the numbers?
Yeah, I'm up at the station right now. We had a total of 26 calls so far for rescue for the month. 5 were moped, and from Friday to Monday, there were 13 calls. 1 was a moped and 1 was a car accident.
Okay.
Last year, in August, we had 6 moped accidents over the whole month.
Okay. Thank you, Kirk.
It's Martha. I need a clarification on that.
Go ahead, Martha.
The 26 call, that's this month, Kirk? I'm sorry.
Yes, that's for the total for the month so far. That's all medical calls that rescue has been on. And that including
And 5
moped accidents.
And 5 are mopeds, and you said last year you had 6 for the whole month.
We had 6 total last year for the month of August.
Okay, thank you. That's what I had written down. I wanted to be sure I was right. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kirk. Vin Carlone, are you there? Chief Carlone?
Probably on mute.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening, Vin.
How you doing, Ken?
Good, thanks. Jim Kern mentioned that you might be able to update us on some of the enforcement efforts.
Well, every weekend has felt like DJ day out here for us. We have several officers injured. They're still working. This has been an anomaly. I hope it discontinues. We made a strong effort to make this a family place, and our job actually got easy doing that over the last, I guess, 12 years. This has been something I haven't seen since I started, and it took a lot of work in 2003, 4, 5, and 6 to correct this behavior. So I hope this is just an anomaly. If it's not, we need to have a whole different police plan. Our plan is situated upon families coming here. This is much different what we are experiencing as a police force.
Vin, the effort that you instituted, that was instituted concerning the mopeds, can you highlight a little bit of that?
Well, we got them to pay for 2 security persons, and that did work very well. We prevented people from going up High Street. We followed them around, but their behavior has been intolerable, much worse than in past years. So I have a different, if this continues, we need to have an actual traffic division and write many, many, many summonses. Our police force here, consisting of 3 to 4 60 to 62-year-old people, dealing with taking mentally ill people off the island, probably 10 this year, writing accident reports, conducting investigations, solving problems, cannot do that along with doing a traffic post. It's not possible. So if this continues, we need to have an entire separate traffic division and write numerous tickets and discourage this behavior. Hopefully this is an anomaly.
The security personnel that you had on last weekend or so, is that working at all?
Yes, it's working very well. We've prevented a lot of things. I mean, we're dealing with these mopeds all day long, out in remote areas, talking to them, taking the keys. It's a full-time job just to deal with that. So hopefully, this is the first year I've seen this since probably 2003 and 4 and 5. And that has worked very well. And you know, the moped operators should take responsibility for their own security and pay for it. And they have. And we should augment that further going forward.
I know there's been a lot of problems with moped operation. They're not supposed to be. Is that something that is being looked at also?
I did not hear that last part.
Is operation on dirt roads and places where the mopeds aren't supposed to be, is that something that's being looked at also, or something being watched?
We really don't have the staff for it. We need, if this keeps up, we need to have a separate traffic division of 3 or 4 officers for June, July, and August, and write several, 200 or 300 tickets for that sort of thing. And that's what will stop it, in my experience. You cannot go to calls, go to mental health calls, go to fight calls, go to accident calls, go to DUI calls, go to accident calls, and then do that simultaneously. It's impossible. Departments have separate traffic divisions to do things like that. Fortunately for us, we only have 3 months. In Narragansett, they have to do it all year long.
Okay, Chief, thank you. Any questions or comments? Council?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Martha, go ahead.
Chief, what you said has really resonated with me because it has felt like this summer has been so much worse for a lot of things. I think it's just people were pent up. I can't even begin to explain this all, but it feels different. I mean, just coming home today, there were 2 mopeds coming out of Mansion Road from the beach when I got almost to the turn onto my place. And there were 2 cars who blew through the stop sign, and if I hadn't pulled over, would have hit me. And so I was pretty cranky by the time I got home. And, obviously down here, calling the police isn't going to, I'm 3 miles out of town. Nobody's going to be able to catch anybody by that time. And I think what's becoming increasingly apparent is, we keep talking about more enforcement, but people have got to take some responsibility and just freaking behave. And I don't understand. I think we're sending the wrong message out there. We're allowing the wrong message to go out.
I can tell you this. I was a young policeman in Narragansett. We had about 10 or 15 cops. They got sick of this. They put 50 cops. Now, I'm not advocating this because I don't like a police state. But all of the bars, which we're not having a problem with, but they corrected the problem by spending money. I'm going to present a plan to you, a security plan, and that's what it comes down to. Really, what has to happen is this place has to be shocked into compliance. And that means everybody, all the big trucks that are speeding, all the local people, everybody needs to come into compliance. Everybody, with respect to driving, everybody. And probably everybody will end up with a ticket, and that may be the way to solve this problem. Unfortunately, it's going way too far. It needs a traffic division. It needs to be held accountable for the behavior, and there are too many cars on the road. So the citizens here are absolutely, all of their complaints are absolutely correct, but they need to fund the solution.
Thank you, Chief. Martha, are you finished for the moment?
Well, and that's sort of, but not quite, because I think that I think most of us know how many hot cars will be at a rental house, and how many 6 people will bring 5 cars to the beach, and all this nonsense. And it just seems like there's this terrible overuse of our resources and overuse of our facilities, and everybody seems to have their own little thing they want to focus on. Oh, let's look at this. Let's look at this. The police should be doing this. The police should be doing that. But it's almost like everybody has their own little. I'm getting an awful lot of feedback.
Yeah, 3 mopeds.
First
one's gonna 29253. Second one's gonna be 33.
Could I say this? Everyone is correct about what they're saying. All of these things are like a menu. You have to decide what kind of money you want to spend to solve these problems. And unfortunately, that's what it is. Narragansett chose to spend whatever amount of money that they needed to spend because they thought it was getting ugly, and they corrected the problem. And that's how it goes.
Thank you, Chief. Sven Reesum?
Yeah, Chief, I also believe you had extra state police on the last couple of weekends. Can you talk about that, about numbers and a bit about roles? If I'm correct.
We had extra state police, which really helped us because we had a very serious accident. So we had accident reconstructionists here. Now, this is a very lengthy process to do an investigation like that. And they adopted that, which was a great deal of help because my entire staff would have been on that 24/7 for 2 or 3 days, leaving the town unprotected. So anything that we can get from the state police is very, very important. And that's going to be part of the plan that I write out and present to you going forward. They also need to have separate cars. Being in the same car really doesn't produce the results that we need. So the plan will be really involving the state police. Every other island in Massachusetts has multiple state police, has barracks 24/7. They are there. That would actually probably solve the problem. This place should have a state police barrack. The colonels of the state police have agreed with me every time I said this. It's just a matter of funding. This should be a manned barracks June, July, and August, and have a complement of state troopers. And that would greatly reduce the problem.
Thank you, Chief. Sven, did you want to follow up?
No,
Okay.
thank you. I mean, later.
What's Sven?
I said later I might, but thank you, Chief.
Okay. Kirk, you have your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I've seen more people driving on the dirt roads with mopeds this summer than I ever have in the past. Just to reiterate what the chief has said, people just don't care this year.
That's correct. We've lost the families and we've adopted something else.
Other comments from the council?
And may I?
Andre, go ahead.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Chief, for your update.
Welcome.
So you're right, because the town council have gotten maybe this week 3, 4, 5 letters basically saying families, we're not coming back here anymore. And we're going to tell all of our, we're not coming back here anymore. We're going to tell our friends not to come back here. We have raised our children and summers here. It's awful. And like, I hear what you're saying, but personally, I would spend the amount of money, you said, the amount of money that we want to commit to spend. Personally, I would rather spend that money ridding this town of mopeds once and for all, because you see what the problem is. I've had the same thing. I was going around the Rotary. I told a moped almost hit me. I said, excuse me, I got the right away. He told me to just shut. We had another resident who was accosted by them. They talk about numbers of mopeds and whatnot, but what's happening is that we have gotten to the point where we are attracting a lot of people, and this summer's no different. Our roads are a lot different than they were, and maybe you can agree or not on this, than they were 10 years ago when these agreements were made. But what we have now is very crowded roads. I agree with you on that. I agree with you about the locals. Everybody should be ticketed. I think we talked about that earlier in the summer. We're at the point now where we're losing, like you say, the good people that have enjoyed Block Island for years. And it all comes down to people drinking and driving erratic on mopeds. I saw 2 mopeds pull into the post office say on my way to the boat with literal 4 or 5 year olds. As Ken, the best comment I think of these meetings that I've heard is Ken Lacoste, human airbags. They're using 4, 6, 7 year olds to sit on that front seat. This is out of control. I'm not spending any money for enforcement on this, but I will spend the money to rid this town of these mopeds. And I think that's going to be the only solution. Our governor was on the news. At a conference today, she pretty much said, she mentioned, she called us out. She said things are happening. She didn't call us out. She realized there's problems here, and that she might have to do some more enforcement actions out here with the crowds and whatnot. But we know, and I'll speak directly to the governor right now. We know our island. We know what we need. We don't need mopeds out here creating more problems and, filling our ambulances. So if the governor wants to help us, and I know we've been really good partners with her and her administration throughout this, we can do things to address our alcoholism and stuff like that. We need help getting rid of mopeds once and for all. We are small fish with well-connected people, owning these businesses, we've had some successes, but right now these things are a scourge to this community and they're hurting people. We all have businesses. And I think, I'll use Ken. If Ken was fixing boats that were putting so many people in ambulances, he wouldn't be in business anymore. If Chris was going out fishing and all these people are coming off of his boats and landing in ambulances like that, he wouldn't be in business anymore. So this is what I'm going to ask my governor tonight, is to help us to rid our roads, to take the burdens off of our rescue squad, our whole EMA. And this, the governor, you have to send your own DMAT team out here. What does that tell you? So I think these are the discussions we need to have. I'm not going to listen to the town spending money to enforce mopeds. So I'll end there. But Governor, we need your help. We're asking for it. And we want to have those discussions with you.
Andre, could I say one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
This is not just mopeds. This is entitled people driving poorly. The accident that resulted in a death was not a moped. This is driving on Block Island. That is why we need a strategic traffic division to knock it out for 1 year and send the message that this is over now. Drive politely on Block Island or you get a ticket, no matter who you are. That's what we need. Not just mopeds, everyone.
Thank you, Chief. Other comments, Council?
Yeah, Ken, just again, if I could say,
Martha, go ahead.
sort of kind of what I was trying to say before, that it's not just, like the chief just said, we got like a hot pocket of moped people right now. There's a lot more going on out here. And that's not the only problem we have. And I think if we, and I know I'm the person who's always saying, don't be global, focus on one thing. But in this particular case, there's something else going on that's much bigger than mopeds. That is an overall attitude change that has to happen. And it's really, I felt the difference last summer, but this summer is really radically different. It may all be, a great deal of it may be the pandemic that nobody seems to even acknowledge anymore. But I think we're really doing ourselves a misservice if we're only addressing one issue. Thanks.
Ben Reeson?
I think, agreeing a lot with Andre as well as the chief, trying to make sure we have a holistic plan. And I believe Jim Kern can speak to this, but I believe there's trying to be a meeting next week to look at that plan from the chief. But I also think as we go down the road, because Andre mentioned one thing, and that is about families. And I think we should talk with the Tourism Council and Chamber and everybody else about how to reinforce our actions with families. And that first means make some actions, take some actions, and actually stand up, but then also communicate to those families in our quote unquote target to invite them back. I think Andre's comment and iteration of the letters we got where families are going to tell other families, and they were pretty appalled. That is a bad day. And so I think once we decide the actions, and I pray we will, then let's make sure we communicate out. So I just want to make sure that that's included down the road. Thank you.
Other comments or questions on this item? Any other comments about the, at this time anyway, on the update on the holiday weekend activity or the fire department, police department, medical services? Tom Warkup, did you have anything you wanted to report to us in terms of medical services other than the accidents?
You mentioned DMAT. We appreciate the efforts of DMAT. We were able to use one of their LPNs and a paramedic. We have the DMAT trailer up and running where we have 2 patient beds in that trailer situated that we can both run people within the core of the office and still observe them in the trailer. Right now we are using that trailer for symptomatic patients that are suspicious for COVID and for those ETOH intoxications and dehydrations that we can maintain out there safely without tying up the trauma room beds as they come in through EMS. And I would say that's our largest update beyond our core functions as of now.
Tom, while I have you on, we did get a report from the sewer plant on the sewer sampling, which was provided to us on August 7th. Have you seen that?
I have.
You have it? Affirmative, you mean?
I have affirmative. I've seen it.
Okay. Can you give us any perspective on that? What it means to us in terms of what we should be concerned about?
Sure. Right now, where I'm going to give you information that came out of the Journal of American Medical Association, June 9th, 2020, where it talked about different interpretations of diagnostic tests, but specifically around PCR, which is the type of test used to identify COVID, which has 100% specificity, meaning that if it's negative, it is 100% accurate that it's negative based on the primer that is specifically used for SARS infection like COVID. So the PCR positivity in stool is observed at only about 57% of infected patients. It will remain positive in stool beyond the nasopharyngeal swab by an average of 4 to 11 days. And it's unrelated to any clinical severity. So what I would use it at this point is that it looks like it's terrific technology. It's in its beta phase. We have more accurate ways of identifying COVID activity, and I'd be interested to see what it develops in the future.
And so, I mean, one of the things that shows up in the report is the BioBot COVID-19 case estimate. And that suggests it's suggesting a 20 case estimate in the yellow on page 2.
Correct. And then if we use the clinical data that it's 57% accurate, it may be underestimating at 20. What you do with that data, how you target further population health strategies is still up for debate. But I would say that the technology is interesting and needs further development.
Okay. But it's at this point it's not necessarily an actionable item.
I would say that that's accurate. Right now, it's hard to see how that is an actionable piece of data for us, given that it's under 60% in its reliability and likely, therefore, underestimating the amount of COVID cases. Doesn't tell me if they're transients, doesn't tell me if they are people that live here all the time. There's a lot of questions that would come if we wanted to take action items off of it, but again, technology that's in development. Is it a number that brings you any major concern, or does it sort of reflect what you expect to be out there at this point in time in the pandemic on Block Island? I think it reflects what I would expect. And the quote from the JAMA article is that it's going to remain positive for up to 11 days beyond the nasopharyngeal swab, which will be positive up to 3 weeks. So therefore, we could have somebody that's had COVID 4 weeks ago and still have positive PCR testing through stool. And with that data that's, again, published in a national medical journal, we're getting people that are from day 1 to day 4 all the way to day 30. So therefore, it's difficult to identify what action items you can take, given that infectivity of somebody who's COVID positive really significantly wanes after day 10, and by day 14 is to the point where it's improbable to cause any infectivity to any other individual, but will remain positive both in a nasopharyngeal swab as well as the stool testing.
Thank you, Jim. Chris Willie, you have your hand up?
I do. It's back to Tracy that when we began this item, just for if she's still on. Is she still on? Yes, she is. And actually, this is for Kirk as well. Comparatively, I didn't know if, Tracy, did you give us a, comparatively, you said the number of calls last year to this year are relatively the same, right? Where'd she go? But you have far fewer EMTs available.
Correct.
Okay, and there is a spike in the, there has been a spike in the moped incidents.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted clarification on that. I started making notes and then we went off on a whole different topic, so. So the numbers are comparatively the same, but mopeds are up and you're working with far less people. So it's basically you guys are getting crushed.
Yeah, we have had DMAT coming out on the weekends, which is great. We had 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and then one additional one on Monday, which has also been very helpful. So
We've been, is that because of, how are we able to obtain that? Is that because of the current COVID situation? Because, I mean, what about
Yes,
next summer?
we've asked for help because of the COVID situation, and they're available because a lot of the events that they normally would be attending, large concerts, other kind of events, have all been canceled, so they're available. They're a volunteer group and they sign up for whatever assignments are needed, and we've asked for their help, and we've had a rotating group of people coming out. We actually had 2 additional DMAT crew come out on Sunday night to help us just kind of regroup and give us a little bit of a break also after everything that happened on Sunday.
Okay, I'm glad that you were able to obtain that help. What's it look like for next summer though? Can you give us a feeling on who will be, because I've talked to a few of the EMTs that are older. They just don't, as I completely understand, they're not interested in volunteering in under the existing climate. Will they be coming back, and will you have a full crew?
I think it depends on how this pandemic plays out. I mean, and I have no idea. I would love to think that things are going to just be back to normal and we're not going to have the concerns. There's not going to be all the necessary PPE and cleaning and all the additional things and the changing protocols that we're dealing with this year. I mean, I just can't answer that question right now. I mean, if we need the help again next year, because we've already established this relationship, it's been great. They've been very helpful, and I would like to think that we could, tap into their resources again next year if we need to. I'd rather things go kind of back to normal if there is possible, if that's possible.
Right, and understandable. We don't know what normal's going to be. So needless to say, we'll need to have this discussion again well before the summer, because I don't want your crews to be impacted like they were this time without at least making an effort to get more people in like you have now. So well before the summer happens, let's try to assess the situation and kind of plan accordingly, I guess.
Yep, absolutely.
So Tracy, just to be clear, the efforts and the assistance from the DMAT crews in response to the fact that COVID is causing us to be shorthanded of our volunteer crews, is that correct?
Correct. We told them that, we asked for their help and they responded.
Right, great. Thank you. Good question, Chris. Thank you. Do you have anything else you want to bring before us? Anyone on the council? Tom Warkup, you have your hand up again?
I just would like to bring an additional perspective to advocate for what we were just mentioning. If I directly advocate for BIHS, is the DMAT team is immensely helpful. It definitely helps our EMS crew, but they all come back to the same exact med center. So if you can continue to advocate for that too. So increasing ambulance volume is terrific, but it all comes back to one space. And we had a med tech on Monday that showed up 30 seconds of notice for a full grand mal seizure, because they operate outside of our normal EMS functionality. We didn't get the same type of notice we would from EMS on our own island. So it's great to have extra people here to help our EMS team. It's well worth it, but just keep perspective that they all come back to the same place.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Doctor. Other comments or questions while we're on this? Sven, go ahead.
Dr. Warkup, I know the trailer that you got, plus also the MASH setup units, Is that something that we're able to get next year? And I hear you on resources, but I'm just thinking from a facilities point of view, that seemed to be a really good add this year. And is that something we can put in for, or what's the status?
It's a great question. I think Brooke Lawrence and the DMAT team have, Tracy may have the same, and Kirk may have the same view. I think have an enhanced view of what happens here on Block Island as compared to previous experiences. I think any ambivalence to Block Island from other outside agencies is probably wiped clean and understand the intensity that happens. So with that being said, I'd hope to secure that trailer early for next year. It would have been immensely helpful on some weekends prior to its arrival. And it's a way for us to flex in a responsible, safe way for members of the community.
Thank you. And I agree with you on the timing would have been better, but it's nice to have. So thank you very much.
Dr. Workup, is there a sunset clause with that trailer, or how long will we be able to maintain it here?
I'm hoping to maintain it through the summer. Brooke has not given me any indication it needs to pull that resource. So I think we'll try to lean on it as long as they have that availability for us.
I don't know if you have enough experience out here to realize it, but we do have, September and October are wonderful months out here, and we tend to be kind of busy, especially on the weekends in September. So if there's any influence we can have in terms of letting you know how much we might need it in September, I would say go ahead and see if we can keep it as long as possible into the fall.
Thank you. I'll make that request.
Great. Other comments or questions at this time?
Ken, may I?
Andre, go ahead.
Thank you, Ken. Dr. Workup, while we have you here, you sent out a new update to the community. I'm wondering if you want to summarize that, or while we're here.
Sure. We have 2 additional positive cases that stem from the 103 plus tests that were done last Thursday by the DMAT team. 1 individual is already off island and has been off island. 1 individual is currently on island. The Department of Health has communicated with us very, very closely. All of the contact tracing has been performed. For the individual that's on the island, I've had a personal conversation with the company owner. We have a very solid plan to keep that individual safe, as well as any other community members at this time. And the other positive was likely from an original exposure in March, when they had exposure to others in a different state. This is the nature of the continued positivity of the PCR testing, which is great. But it doesn't quite give us the narrow timeline that I think most people would interpret. If it's positive, it doesn't necessarily mean they were positive recently. So therefore, the first one's is no longer a threat or even residual threat to the community. And the second one, we have a very solid plan for quarantine. So that, I believe, I made a mistake at the fire barn the other day. I think we had 6. I think this now makes 8 total positive cases. I had missed one of the early ones, and they've all been dealt with. And there has been no, according to the DOH, as of about 2:30 this afternoon, there is no need for other large-scale testing as a result of the contact tracing that was completed.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate your work on that. And of course, we all wish them all a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
Tom, one more question while we have you, Dr. Workup. From what you're experiencing and what you're seeing, aside from the rescue, is there anything you're seeing that directly relates to any activities that the council should be concerned about in terms of the cases that you're seeing presented before you up there?
I'd take a slightly different twist to maybe answer your question, is that for the council to consider, Rhode Island still has a 2.5% positive rate. And this is still after about 400,000 tests that the state has executed on. For perspective, Connecticut has a 1.4% positive rate. So we are at 2.5%. This is pandemic day 163. Rhode Island has had 10 additional cases hospitalized over the week. 9 of those are, of the 89 people hospitalized, 9 are in the ICU and 3 are on ventilators. But something for the committee, the town council rather, is that they just published a South Korean study in the Journal of American Medical Association International, suggesting that asymptomatic cases can transmit infection in a similar way to symptomatic cases. Therefore, continued adherence to distancing, mask wearing, hand washing is critical. And the Journal of Science just published that the N95 masks are the best masks to be worn, followed by surgical and then cloth. There's N95 masks that have a valve that perform worse and are contraindicated. So be mindful when we're buying masks for anybody that's in the community. And bandanas, knitted, and fleece masks are the worst masks to wear because they break the larger droplets into smaller droplets that can be aerosolized. And things related to, I think, with our upcoming school years, that 90% of all children are recovering within 4 weeks. They represent 9.1% of all Rhode Island cases. And so far, most cases are household contacts, but what should change in the published literature with the school year approaching very quickly. So we're always trying to balance precision and speed of testing. Some of the scenarios that they're bringing up is the governor's office is thinking about using more rapid testing. And keep in mind that we've gone through an evolution of that from high expectations and specificity to not having the similar confidence that we do with PCR, but it's a work in progress. So we may participate in that, we may not. We're in consultation with the school district, but just be mindful that we're working through it. But mask wearing is essential. And I probably updated to say proper mask wearing is essential.
Thank you, Dr. Workup. Sven Reeson?
Yeah, I just want to thank Dr. Workup and Kira and the police and Bill McComb. As many of you know, there are approximately 7 volunteers that are handing out masks, especially in the morning and also on Water Street during the day. The medical Block Island Health Services has been supplying masks. Ken and Andre, keep pushing the state for more masks if you can, because we are giving them out to the best of the volunteers' ability. Also, the CSOs are handing out masks as well as a police intern. So there are people out there. What we have seen, just for everybody's knowledge, coming off the ferry, and I've talked to all the volunteers, there is significantly good compliance. I mean, you're up into 95, 98%, really, really high. What's clear is that in the afternoon, after they've been on the beach with suntan lotion or sweat or, whatever it may be, that's when the heat takes over and the masks seem to come off. So we're trying to shift a little bit towards the afternoon. It's just hard with work, but we're trying. And I just really wanted to thank Dr. Workup and Kira and you, Ken, you and Andre, for getting as many masks as we can. Those are also the ones that Dr. Workup got us recently are those quote unquote high quality masks. They aren't the N95s, but they're the next tier. So best we can, but thank you.
Thank you, Sven.
Yeah, may I, Ken? I'll just say that, yes, Sven, great outreach in the community. I think it's been successful in its own right, but I think Director Pappas was going to send some more masks over to you from through Bill McComb today. So I don't know, maybe Bill can speak to that.
Yeah, I received a call today, and we're going to meet up tomorrow and discuss about availability.
Thanks to all.
Any further questions or comments? Let's move on to the next item on the agenda. I believe, like I said, we've covered the 2, 3, and 4. I know we will agenda discussion with the chief for Wednesday night, our regular council meeting Wednesday night, concerning follow-ups and some of those issues. The next item on the agenda is discuss and act on possible amendments to the emergency ordinance of the town of New Shoreham, adopted May 27th, 2020. Specifically pertaining to communal housing and other issues during COVID-19 pandemic. Does anyone have anything they want to discuss on this item?
Sven, did you want to talk about the email, I guess, about what I brought up earlier?
Or the next agenda item? I don't know, Ken. Can you tell me when it's appropriate? I just, first of all, I really want to thank Molly and Amy and everybody, Michelle, who've been handling these Zoom calls, because it's sure been a a nightmare and amazing work. But I do think that we as the council, and I'm really reflecting Martha's comment last week, I think we need to start meeting in person. And I did write a note today to Jim and copied everybody, but I just think whether it's I'll let the staff figure out how to do it, cameras, etc., and the microphones. But I think it will be a better situation for the island if the earlier we can meet in person. And I guess I know that's a hardship, and I know it's I know it's a lot of work. So let me know what I can do to help. But I really want to be pretty. I don't mean insistent, but I think we just have to do it. And anything I can do, Jim, I don't know if you have a comment, or Ken, but I think the sooner we can meet in person, significantly better.
Thank you, Sven.
Thanks, Sven.
Yeah, I had something.
Martha, go ahead.
What do we need to make a motion to amend the ordinance? Where do we want to begin?
Well,
I have a couple of things. I want to put out there. I understand we have to have a unanimous vote to amend, to open up the ordinance to amend it. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have to have in the event of an emergency wherein the council must enact an appropriate ordinance or ordinances, the council may suspend the provision of subsection A of 409 of this section by unanimous vote of the council. Only action by ordinance clearly essential to deal with the emergency shall be taken under such suspension. An emergency shall be defined as a situation where the public health, safety, and/or general welfare of the town is imminently perilled by an unusual or unforeseen circumstance. So it would have to be a unanimous vote to suspend the provision of subsection A, Martha, to answer your question.
Okay, where do I begin with this then?
Well,
I think we should talk about suspending the outdoor entertainment licenses for the rest of the summer. We are in a position where the governor's office is saying social gatherings shouldn't be more than 16 people, yet whole other standards seem to apply to any kind of massive gatherings anywhere else other than my yard. And that's ludicrous. And I don't know any other way of dealing with this. We have all seen pictures of the boat. We've seen pictures of the lines. There's no distancing. We know that we're in a pandemic. I mean, our numbers are increasing incrementally, but they're still increasing. Rhode Island, we've seen, everything is fluid. We don't know when the states around us are going to shut things down again, or when Rhode Island's going to get shut down again. And I think we need to talk about doing something serious and saying we're not. This is silly. We're not. We're not the. Those pictures we saw of Florida last spring when everything went to heck in a handbasket down there. And I feel like we're positioning ourselves for the same thing by just letting this go on week after week. I also would like to not have liquor service before 5 o'clock, but I don't think that one's going to pass. I think 11 o'clock is silly, but it's the day drinking that's killing us. It's day drinking that's causing accidents.
okay, Martha. Well, like I said, if you want to take action, we need to suspend the provisions of subsection A.
Well, I move we suspend the provisions of subsection A.
Okay. Motion by Martha. Any questions? Do we have a second for discussion?
I'll second that. I just want to, or that she doesn't need to read into the record. It's due to, due to what it says in the ordinances, excuse me, about, I mean, if that's a fine enough motion, I second that. I'm just wondering if she needs to put it into the perspective of, if she has to read from subsection B of 409 of the charter.
No, I believe it's indicated that she's making a motion to suspend the provisions of subsection A of section 409 of ordinances. I think that's clear enough, is it not, Molly?
Yes, it is now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I
Motion-
second that.
Motion made by Martha and seconded by Andre. Chris, did you have your hand up? Chris Willie?
I did. Hold on.
Okay.
If that's the intent, then I won't be voting. I can't vote on it, and I don't know if that impacts anything. I mean, if you voted on opening up, I mean, because she went into what she wants to do, I hold an outdoor entertainment license, so I have to recuse.
Right. I believe if you're recusing, then the unanimous vote of the remainder of the council that is eligible to vote would be appropriate, would it not, Molly?
I think so, but you have your attorney on the line too.
She is. Oh, she is. Kathy Marola. I'm sorry, I didn't notice you were there. Catherine, are you there?
Wrote in my letter.
There you go. Right now.
You guys want more wine? You want water? I have, yeah. Yes, please.
We unmute Catherine.
Oh, are you okay?
Hello.
You okay, Izzy? Did you stub your toe?
Kathy?
Ooh, let me see.
What's going on?
I'm not sure. Kathy Marola, are you with us this evening?
Are you okay, Iz?
Who's okay?
B, are you okay?
Stand by. Molly, are you down there?
Ken, I'm going to re-invite her.
Reinvite Kathy Marola. Amy?
Yes, just a moment.
Thank you.
Well, whoever stubbed their toe, I hope it wasn't a Lego. Oof. Brutal.
What?
Are you on mute or are you loud? I think you're fine with you.
Okay. All right. We can't seem to make contact with Catherine.
I'm gonna try, can you try to text her?
Yeah, stand by. I'll see if I can text her. Am I still muted? No. Stand by. I'll see if I can text her.
Sven. Totally on board with meeting at the town hall. Totally on board with going back to town hall.
Stand by. We're trying to make contact.
Can I ask a question while we're waiting, Ken?
Go ahead, Sven.
On a previous subject? Jim Kern, I think, is on the line. Jim, can you just help me with any steps or what we need to do about the town hall meetings, or is that in process? Just asking from a procedural point of view, getting the meetings back in town hall.
First thing we're going to need to decide is the actual configuration in the room. Are you going to sit at the desk? And the answer can't be, we'll sit however we need to sit. That can't be an answer. The answer is, are you going to sit at the desk? Because if you're not going to sit at the desk, you're going to sit spread around through the room. And then the 7 of you are going to be the size of one of these little pictures that we're looking at right now. That's the way it's going to go. And the camera's going to be, as everybody knows, up in the corner. So you're going to be little dots. If you're sitting at the desk, then, and this is the way most towns have done it, then there's plexiglass between each of you. So that's part of what's going to need to be funded and installed. Similarly, the camera would have to be funded and installed. The connectivity between the laptop that would be in front of Ken, and he would be essentially acting for all 5 of you the way each of us act on a Zoom interaction. So he'd have a laptop. It would go into another piece of equipment, which would also have to be funded and installed. And then that would go into another laptop. So kind of what the configuration looks like is the first part of the requirements definition that then includes a number of other things, 3 of which I think those are the 3 biggest. And then, the timeline it would take to get those ordered and installed. But as any of you know, for any kind of technological installation, the requirements definition is the first part, and it's critical because otherwise you're not going in the straight line that you need to go in. So, which is to say, if people aren't comfortable sitting together on the desk, then it's a different plan. And so the council would need to decide what that room is going to look like first.
Sounds like we need to have a discussion at the council meeting next week on it. Sven, go ahead.
I was going to say, Jim, if it would help, I would love to have those conversations with you so that we can present it to the council and take a vote next week, understanding all those choices and bounce it around. I hear all that. To be very frank, I don't see that this virus is going away over the next 8 months. So the sooner we can meet, the better. But to your earlier comment, starting the process is the beginning of it. So if it would help, or if anything I can do to help get this, then let's have an agenda item next week so we can actually discuss the expenditure and the timeline. That would help me. Thank you.
Can I just jump in here? Can I just jump in really quick? Somebody needs to unmute Martha.
Well, I finally got unmuted.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just right now, this very second.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Ken, quickly.
Was getting paranoid.
Yeah, hold on, everyone. Catherine, are you?
Sorry.
That's okay. We got you now.
I got cut off.
I got Catherine on the line on my phone. Can everyone hear her?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I got cut off.
All right. Jim, go ahead.
I'm in agreement with Sven. I think there's a reasonable chance you're going to be in some kind of modified meeting configuration for some number of months, all the more to configure it correctly so it can roll into Clerk Base. As we've mentioned a number of times in these meetings, the workload on the clerk's office is not going down. It's increased. It's staying level. There's been some personnel changes in there that have made it worse. So we need to be smart about how we design it so that we're not creating just that much more workload on the people that are managing the meetings. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Catherine, thank you for joining us. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We have a motion on the table at the moment to suspend the provision of subsection A of the 409 of the ordinances in order to essentially deal with an emergency situation. Given that there's motion and second on the floor, one of the counselors may be recusing from this vote. If he recuses, will we be able to have a unanimous vote of the council of eligible counselors? Or does,
Yes, under the council rules of procedure, absolutely.
okay, so if we can still do that with 4 rather than the 5.
Yeah, so you're gonna suspend that section A of the charter.
Yeah.
Has to be unanimous, but
Right.
then the actual amendment to the ordinance does not have to be unanimous.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Does everyone hear that? Andre?
I did. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you, Catherine. Discussion on the motion, Sven?
I guess to just ask a couple of questions. I like the idea, Martha, but maybe you could help me. Your thought on the outdoor entertainment license, which is
Sven,
sorry.
This motion is only to open the ordinance.
Oh.
That has to be done first.
Can you repeat the motion then? I'm sorry. I apologize.
The motion is simply to open to suspend the appropriate subsection. I don't have the language in front of me, to amend the emergency ordinance under the requirements by law. Molly has the language.
This is basically to have the discussion, Sven.
Thank you. Sorry.
Any further comments or questions on this item? Hearing. Go ahead.
Martha,
what?
So to elaborate on that, so we got the ordinance open and it was brought up to discuss the suspension of outdoor entertainment licenses.
No, we haven't opened the ordinance yet.
Oh, right. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry. My bad.
All a vote.
All those in favor of the motion, Andre?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative also. Chris Woolley is recusing. Motion carries 4-0. Catherine, will you be able to join us on the computer, or are you going to stay on the phone?
I think I'm gonna need to stay on the phone because I am not near my computer right now.
Okay, very good. We'll keep you on the side then. Thank you. Martha, do you want to open the discussion?
Yeah, I do. I think that, this has gone back and forth. We're getting completely mixed messages from upstate. The social gathering limit, I believe, is still at 16. There is the limit on outdoor entertainment is basically, I think, by square footage, so we can have hundreds of people. And I don't understand how that's even conscionable under any kind of law of ethics, any kind of logic, any kind of moral obligation under health, safety, and welfare, which is what this is all about. And I don't see any way of going through all of these various licenses and saying who's got more space or who can do this and who can do that, which is why it's across the board. And it's not it's an across the board suspension of a class of license. It's not anything that in any way, shape, or form reflects on any performance of any one of the license holders. And it is for the duration. It is until further notice.
All right. Comments or questions for Martha?
Or a question? Ken?
Go ahead, Sven.
Is the is the chief on still or not?
Chief Carlone, you still? I don't believe he is, Sven.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and reach him.
So may I?
Andre, go ahead.
I agree with Martha. My thought development on this was, we need to go back to talking about public health. And we've seen the crowds, we've seen where they are. Bars are on that list of the most dangerous places to be. We're getting to a point in the summer now, excuse me, that I'm starting to be concerned about, are the Block Island school kids going to be able to go back to school? And that's a legitimate concern. And I think when we started this long road we've been on, it was all about crowds. And then masks came into the picture, and it was okay. But I think what we need to go back and look at our island, and we have to do what we can to stop crowds. I think this is a way to do it. I think there's another way, which I'll bring up later after we discuss this. But if you have live entertainment outside in bars, it encourages people to drink. It encourages people to stick around. It encourages people to congregate. And I think at the beginning of this pandemic, these are the issues that we were trying to stop. I think most of us, maybe begrudgingly, we had to give these licenses back. But right now, it's not helping the situation of Block Island. And I think this is something we can do. We can take an action on this to curb crowds, to stop, congregating. And, like our, as the chief said, and everybody knows, we have unruly people here. So I think these licenses allow people to congregate in crowds and drink maybe too much and be unruly. I've come to the decision in my mind that this will help do that, alleviate that issue. And that's my feeling on that.
Thank you, Andre. Sven Reeson?
Oh, sorry. No, I apologize.
All right, just for point of discussion, there obviously are situations where the crowds are large and unruly, and there are issues. We've also see other smaller venues apparently having relatively good success or proper distancing in smaller venues. I guess my question would be, and Martha, you pointed out clearly that you don't want to go through and nitpick and pick one and the other and start comparing them. But my question would be that, is it necessary to have the same effect on smaller venues as on larger venues?
Ken, you're breaking up completely. I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, hold on. I think I'm getting static from Catherine's phone. Martha, my question was, can you hear me now, Martha?
I can, yes, thank you.
My question was, while the larger venues, larger numbers may be problematic, I mean, there's several smaller venues that have had outdoor music and entertainment that don't appear to be problematic. What about, I know you said you don't want to compare, you wanted to do it across the board, but what about those smaller venues? Are they being punished for actions at the other venues?
If you can come up with a formula that works. The only thing that I'm sorry, I left this out of the original motion. I believe when the numbers were shifted upstate, that planned weddings were still allowed. Is that correct?
Yeah, but the plans have to go through the DBR. It's not up to the town.
Okay, so they wouldn't be impacted by this in any event then.
Right.
I just want to be sure of that.
I don't believe so.
I'm sorry, Ken, just point of order. Don't they still need to get an entertainment license even though the DVR says it?
I don't know. That's what I was asking. I don't know.
That's a Molly question, but I believe they still, even if DVR allows it, my understanding was that they still need to get an entertainment license from the town.
Well, I would exempt any wedding function that is approved by DBR. And I know that's counter to a lot of this, but trying not to be too awful about this. And I think a lot of big weddings have already been really scaled back.
Right. Any other thoughts on this? Question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to deal with crowds. I mean, I don't know if Dr. Workup is here, but I know Dr. Workup, he's not here anymore, but you know, large crowds and bars, those are the most dangerous places to be right now. And we have in our power to stop that right now. And I agree with it. I think we should. I mean, people say, a lot of people blame the ferry, but the ferry is, maybe it's got its own challenges, but their PUC, and Bill's still here, can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're mandated by the PUC to be a public carrier. So they're carrying people that are coming here by choice, and by allowing, outdoor entertainment. I think people are coming out here for that in certain places. And maybe if people, I think that might be the problem with the boat. Could be leading to it. But I'm just going to return to what I say. It's all about the crowds and all about bars. And this is something we can do to stop that.
Sven Reeson.
I did just hear that the chief has an incident, so he couldn't be on, but I'm just wondering, I think Martha's point and timing is critical. I know the chief asked to try and meet, and you were talking, Ken, a few minutes ago, adding that on to next Wednesday's meeting. I mean, I'm just thinking about unintended consequences. So we've already suddenly started talking about weddings. I'm with Martha and Andre on the point of large crowds. I'm thinking about a number of bars that I have seen many, many people at, and I'm not sure they've had outdoor entertainment per se out on the docks, but I'm not sure that this would reduce that risk. And like Andre said, the bars are some of the bars are a big concern. So I just want to make sure we're actually having an effective plan versus, suddenly it'll be skirted around.
Just to clarify, the list put out by the CDC, the most dangerous places is bars and is pretty much bars. So I'm not saying certain bars. I'm saying all bars.
Right, but I guess my point. I'm sorry, Ken. Can I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Oh, my point was that many of the bars don't have outdoor, or maybe I don't know if they have an outdoor entertainment license necessarily, and some of them, when they're really packed, don't even have outdoor entertainment. There's just a lot of people. I'm trying to think about how to have that included.
Well, does the question come down to the special events with larger gatherings over a certain number, or is it, are we having problems with the special events that are occurring?
We don't have special event licenses now.
No, but I'm talking, semantics. I wasn't specifically saying special event licenses, but just special events that the venues are having that might incur larger numbers than ordinarily might be at that particular location.
I mean, I don't know. I don't go to the bars. I can't tell, but I think there are a lot of places that have any sort of space at all that, and I think everybody's really trying hard, but you look at the crowds, you look at the lines at the boat, you look at the people coming over on the boat. It feels like there's got to be somewhere, somehow, we can get some kind of grip on something out here. The state is not helping us. The state is saying you can't have, I couldn't have my whole family here. Not that I'm inviting my whole family, but I couldn't. But you can do whatever you want if you're I find it contradictory. I find it not in the best interest of the public health. I can't see how anybody could justifiably say it is. I understand what the governor is trying to do with balancing, but we're seeing it. It's not working out here. We've had a summer that things have kind of gone wild. Probably a lot of it is because people were cooped up for a long time. But, you know, you can't, as long as you're on a road or watching a road today, you know, you're seeing this, and you're seeing it in the lines of the boat, and you're seeing it in I don't put a lot of stock in pictures people have, because you never know what's on another deck of a boat. But there's just, it just feels like there's some kind, and there's also some kind of message of, no, this isn't the place we are. We're not just the come out here, you know, that's what the chief was talking about earlier, of trying to get back to who we ought to be, what we want to be. And I guess this is the only thing I could come up with.
Sven Reeson.
And Martha, I like the idea. I mean, I like the concept. I'm just trying to think of all those. We all know that's the unintended consequences that come around and bite us. Right now, we thought we had it in control, and suddenly now there are huge lines at the boats, or to your point, even getting in places.
When did we think we had it under control, Sven?
Well,
Come
no,
on.
I meant we tried. But I guess my question is, if we do outdoor entertainment, would that push people indoors, or entertainment indoors? So I'm just trying to think through all of the implications of this. I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
Can I get a clarification on entertainment licenses and outdoor entertainment licenses? I thought they were the same thing.
Sure.
Molly?
No.
What?
I'm sorry, what was the question between outdoor entertainment licenses and what?
Entertainment licenses. Sven's question was, you know, would this force people indoors? So, can you clarify outdoor
Sure.
entertainment? Okay, good, thanks.
In a nutshell, the outdoor entertainment license is the one that allows you to have entertainment on patios and decks connected to the building.
Yep.
And the indoor entertainment is usually just a checkbox on the liquor license, permission to dance. And that's kind of a blue law, the indoor entertainment connected with a liquor license.
So if we were to suspend outdoor entertainment licenses, and to Sven's point, you know, he was thinking that maybe that would force people inside. Wouldn't that establishment be confined to what their capacity is right now?
Right, it might be a more measurable capacity.
Thank you.
Anyone else have comments or questions on this? Molly, do you have any comments coming in?
I do not, no. And again, to comment on the, if you're listening in on your phone, how do you do that?
Yeah, if someone's listening in on their phone and they want to comment, they can push *9 to raise their hand, and then *6 to mute and unmute.
Thank you. You're still breaking up a little bit. So that was *9 to raise your hand, and
Yes, *9. Yes.
*6 to mute and unmute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
May I? And somebody's got some wind going. Yeah, I just want to. I agree with Martha. You know, in her motion and what she's trying to do here. I would only slightly disagree with. You know, I think we. Given the state-wise, like, you know, the comments about, you know, the state maybe not doing enough, we haven't done enough. And this is something we can do. Ken, you know, we've talked on the phone with our state partners, and I'm going to use that word partners. These are partners in this. And I think if we start taking action to protect our own community, then maybe we might see some more, action on the part of the state. But right now, we have relied completely on the state to do enforcement actions across the board in this town with regards to COVID. And with the DMAT team, we have more state troopers, with the DBR. This is an opportunity for the town council to take an action on behalf of their own town. So while I'd say that maybe some feel as though the state hasn't done enough for us, I think, and I'll address the governor again. Hi, Gov. We're willing to work to stop these crowds and these gatherings and these scary situations for everybody, especially the parents who are really worried about, and I'm going to say it again, their kids starting school in the fall. So that's why I'm here supporting this, is because I think it's an overture to our state partners that we are willing to do something, and we're willing to do something bold for the protection of our community. And this is why I agree with Martha's motion. And I would, ask the governor for some assistance in all this. And we're willing to walk that road with them. And I don't think we have done enough of that this summer. We have allowed the businesses to operate as they have because I think we all certainly understand the economic development, the employees. We all get that. But I just want to try to bring this back to the circle of this is something dealing with the public health. And it's the health of the people in our community. And this is a little thing we can do. Some people may, bar owners may not like this, but for me, it's about stopping congregating people. They're not wearing their masks, or the rules in the bars. Like, you got to sit down at the bar and you don't have to wear a mask. And if you stand up, you don't have to wear your mask or go to the bathroom. Like, if we can just curb that a little bit, if we could get some people, these unruly people on the mainland, to say, I'm not going to go to Block Island because I can't go sit at a bar and listen to a band. Maybe we'll curb the situation on the ferry. I don't know. But I think this is something we can do.
Okay. Any further comments, questions? Sven, go ahead.
And I just got a call from somebody they're trying to dial in, and I want to make sure that anybody on the phone, anyway, this person's going to dial in. And Molly, I want to confirm that if they want to dial in, it's that 301-715-8592 number. Is that correct?
That's right. If anybody wants to take this down, it's 301-715-8592. The meeting ID number is 824-7142-9574. And the password is 385978. You want me to repeat that?
Sure.
Okay. The telephone number is 301.
Sorry, Molly, you probably have to dial 1 first.
You do. It's a 1. It's not toll free. 1-301-715-8592. The meeting ID is 824-7142-9574. And this can be shared. Amy's going to share this from her computer in just a second. The password is 835978.
385978.
Sorry, 38. The password is 385978. Amy, if you want to share that on the screen, that would be super.
And Molly, the person that was texting me, sorry, Ken, was that number 9960042. And he's the text person, I don't know who it is, just said, thank you, I'm on.
Okay, great.
I think they will.
I also got a couple of texts from people trying to get on, so.
Perfect. Sorry to bother you. Sorry to
All
interrupt.
right, well then we'll remind everyone who is getting in, if they do want to speak, they need to push star 9 on their phone to raise their hand, and then push star 6 to mute and unmute to speak, and when they want to speak. I see a hand raised, and so I'll call on whoever this person is. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Frank from the Spring House. Thank you for taking the time to get me in this conversation.
Hey, Frank.
So I respect everyone's, what you're speaking about, and, the safety of our community is definitely priority, but what you're about to do, I think you really need to investigate on what you're trying to do. We have a wedding upcoming this weekend, and we cannot have any form of outdoor entertainment without the license that you're about to suspend temporarily. It's not regarding our lawn, or I'm more worried about weddings that are already scheduled to go on, and I do not want to do anything that's out of code or, go against your wishes, but I think we should really look into it more.
I'll just point out it's Frank DiBiase at the Spring House. Thank you, Frank.
Well, wait, hold on.
Martha, go ahead.
Frank, you may have missed this. After the initial motion, I backtracked on that, and I believe weddings have to be cleared through Department of Business Regulation. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so. No, not correct. The only thing we have to go through DVR about is if we're going to have more than what they are regulating. So if a wedding we've won 60 people inside, regulation says 50 people are only allowed in any venue inside. So if a wedding wants to come in and have 60 people, we need to get a written approval and a plan. That has nothing to do with entertainment licenses. You guys hold that.
Okay.
So if we want any kind of entertainment outside, that's the license that you give us.
Because what I was trying to do was find a way of exempting weddings from this motion.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about that. But
okay, I need another way of doing it then.
And I honestly think you should really go to the people that you're concerned with, and who are not social distancing. And if we're doing things wrong, I think that's where this should come into play. I don't think you should really put an industry in a corner when we're trying to do the best and give our guests great experiences. If people are not obeying, it's pretty easy to find the people that are not doing what they're supposed to. And I think that's what you need to focus on instead of blackening a whole industry. I think that's scary, in my opinion. And
thank you, Frank.
Thank you. And that's all I have. I just wanted to.
Okay, thanks. Molly, do you have anyone else that you'd let in?
There's another telephone number that I let in. They're not raising their hand.
Okay. Just a reminder, if someone did come on, if you want to speak, you need to push star 9 on your phone to raise your hand, and then you'll be recognized, and then you should push star 6 to mute. While we're just reviewing that, looking at that, I think it's a point well taken that Frank made. And again, my concern is I appreciate the concern Martha and Andre have in terms of the numbers and the large groups. But my concern is that there are the ramifications that extend out to those businesses that are complying and are not necessarily having an issue or having any problems with what they're doing, and they would be caught in the undertow, if you would, and have to discontinue their operations. So that would, if there's another way of doing it, Martha, I would rather go another way of doing it to try and curtail the bad experiences and the bad actions that are happening, rather than chop off everybody's experience just because of a few.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying, but my point was that it's not necessarily, they may very well be, these larger places may very well be operating within the scope of the square footage requirements by the state. And is that enough? And is that what we want? And are these lines in these crowds on a Sunday afternoon healthy? And is this a message we want to send to the rest of the state and region? Which is the message that has been going out, unfortunately. And I would want to accept weddings. I just apparently don't know how to do it.
Right. I've got the dial-in information up on the screen at the moment. Sven, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, just real quickly. I mean, I hear exactly what Martha and Andre are talking about. I'm again trying to think of those unintended consequences. Frank brought some up, and and I guess we're sort of thinking through them live here. I don't know, Martha, if there's a way that we could, I won't even say table this, but keep this conversation going and bring the chief into it or some other people. I know Kathy said, yes, we can change it, but I'm trying to make sure that we understand what the unintendeds are. And I don't mean that I'm not for this, because I actually agree 100% with you on the concept. But I'm just trying to think about some establishments that I know that I think are that are doing everything right and have done everything right and have actually been working very hard at it, that this would impact. And maybe it is the only thing we can do. But I'm just wondering if there's a way we can work through those unintended consequences and get back together quickly on this, if that's what's needed. I just don't want to make a hasty decision.
All right. I'm not seeing any other hands raised. Any further comments on this?
Hey, Ken.
Andre, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just trying. I'm turning my video off to provide my, preserve my own bandwidth because you guys are losing. I was losing you guys. Yeah, I understand, Sven. But that's what's on the table today, and and I get it. It returns to crowds. Like it's crowds and bars. They're the most dangerous. Crowds and bars are the most dangerous thing for the COVID right now. It's on every chart. The CDC puts it out. And I sure I'd love to hear from the chief on this, but I don't need the chief to tell me. I wish the doctor was here, but I don't also need for him to tell me that those are the two biggest spreaders of this disease. For those of us who actually do believe there is a disease, let's address that first. This is why I support that. Unintended consequences is still crowds at a bar. Even if everybody's doing the right thing, to do this and do that, it's still crowds in a bar. The governor has allowed this because she's very pro-business. But we've seen what happens with that. What happens on Block Island doesn't happen in Cranston, Providence, Johnston, and all these other places. So this is why I support this, because we are a different place. I would exempt the weddings also, but that's really the only unintended consequence. And we were told we could be stricter. This is stricter than the state. I understand that. But I just return, I'm just going to return to the fact that it's about the crowds. We tried to address this before, the summer. We didn't expect the crowds we were having. And this is a way I think we can cut down on crowds. So I don't think I need to say that again.
Yep.
I have someone's raised their hand, phone number ending in 263. Go ahead. Identify yourself, please. Phone number ending in 263.
Oh, sorry. This is Isabel Dupont, and I had a question. Is it not possible to address individual licenses when considering this problem? Because I know there are restaurants on the island that are doing an excellent job. My family and I had a very nice dinner at the Orb, and is that not possible?
Thank you for the question, Isabel. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that that has been brought up. Whether or not it's possible or not is I think Martha had a question.
Oh, Henry.
Question was brought up whether or not there's
You're on
another
the phone.
issue. Martha, do you have something?
Well, it's possible, but it's not practical at this stage of the game. And it's also, you get into actual liquor license board commissioner hearings, which is not where we're going. We're not talking about suspending anybody's license. We're talking about not, it's not the same sort of suspension. This isn't a punitive measure. This is just a health and welfare. We're not suspending anyone's liquor license. We're not, and again, everybody may very well be following all of the rules and regulations that the state has put forth. It doesn't make it working here. We're a seaside community. Seaside communities all along the coast are having these problems. When, as Andre said, when this is probably isn't happening in Providence. It may be, I don't know. I don't get north of Wakefield.
Right. The other issue to consider too is that, and as Andre so eloquently pointed out, that the problem that's been identified is with bars. This is basically eliminating the entertainment license for the outdoor entertainment license. It's not shutting the bar down. It's merely eliminating the entertainment. So your numbers may dwindle because there's not as much attraction there, but they're not specifically shutting off the spigot. You're just dampening the ambiance, if you will. My opinion.
Can I ask Kathy a question, Ken? Is she still here?
So Catherine, are you still here? Yes.
Can you, so if we move forward with this, I want to make sure that we can exempt the weddings.
Hi, I'm just calling into the meeting. This is Steve Philippi from Bowers. Is now a good time?
No, not, hold on. You don't have the floor.
Okay. Oh, sorry, guys.
Catherine?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Because in order to exempt the weddings, we would have to show that that's a classification that for some justifiable reason gets to be exempted. As opposed to other kinds of events with outdoor entertainment.
Andre, does that answer your question?
Sort of. Yeah, sort of.
Okay. Then resume.
No, I was just saying sort of, because I think the question is then do we start picking? And I know Steve just said he's on, but I do want to say one thing that as Andre brought up before about schools. I mean, it is a little ludicrous that we have big crowds of people and yet we're limiting gatherings to 15 and we are worried about opening a school. And it just seems counterintuitive. So that Martha's point is a really good one and I don't want to minimize it. I'm just trying to think of those points. So, sorry, thank you, Ken.
Steve Flippy, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to have us call in. I just want to make two important points. It's the safest thing, and the DEM came out and they want to keep beaches open. They want to keep people outside as much as they possibly can. And we need places for people to safely congregate, number one. And number two, I think before you make any of these decisions, you really need to just talk to the police chief. And I think you need to take a holistic view on all the unintended consequences and definitely get his point, because he's going through under a lot of stress right now. He's doing a great job organizing the town, keeping everyone safe. And I just think you don't want to make any knee-jerk reactions and just think things through. So that's definitely what I wanted to call in for.
Thank you, Steve.
And also,
go ahead, Steve.
Also, I think back to what Frank said, if you have issues, any businesses, definitely for Ballards, I've communicated with all of you at any time. If you ever want to sit down and walk through things, and if there's issues, I think that's the best way to do it going forward. And I think every business owner is more than willing to work with you going forward, like we always have been.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all.
Further comments or questions? All right.
Excuse me, Ken.
Yeah, who's that? Molly?
I think Frank DBAs wants to say another word. He just texted me to say, ask if he could speak again.
Okay.
So to raise your hand, it's *6, right?
Hi, everybody. Thanks again. My last comment is, and I just want to get this so you understand, a wedding outside can hold 100 people. On our lawn, when we have music entertainment, we don't have 100 people on the lawn. So what we're trying to do is, approve a wedding venue outside with 100 people with live entertainment, but sacrifice, maybe 70 people on the front lawn at most. There's only 20 chairs there on the Adirondack chairs that I know of. So I just think we should think about the whole scenario, because it's kind of like a gray area.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
And we only have 2 more weeks left, and then it's going to be only weddings. So 3 weeks maybe. That's and the numbers are showing that we're doing excellent. So I don't understand why we're fighting this now with 3 weeks left. We went this far, So, and we're all healthy. My team anyway. So I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, guys.
All right, I'll call the question. The motion on the floor is to suspend all outdoor entertainment licenses, I assume for the remainder of the year across the board. Motion made by Martha, seconded by Andre.
It was with the exception of weddings.
With the exception of weddings. All right.
Andy, okay with that?
Go ahead, Martha.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Ben Reesum?
But I'm sorry, I thought Kathy said that was a problem, or did I mishear it? Maybe it's garbled.
No, you didn't mishear it. But it's following what the state put out quite a while ago when they were talking about large gatherings and they were exempting weddings that were pre-planned.
So I'm just asking, did Kathy say we could exempt weddings or not? I'm just making sure I understood.
What I said, there has to be a justifiable reason. And if you're going to go with the idea that it was a pre-planned wedding and everything has already been established, and that's the reason, well, then that's your reason.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Motion was made by Martha, seconded by Andre. All those in favor, Andre?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
Ben? Ben? Sven Reesum?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay, I didn't mean to rush you.
Aye.
Sven votes in the affirmative. I vote negative. Motion carries. Any further comments or items to be brought up under the emergency ordinance amendment?
For discussion, Ken, hold on, let me give you some video here. All right.
Go ahead.
All right, for some discussion, it was allowed that, the takeout drinks with to-go food. Is that something we want to look at? When people can get food, they can get, when they get takeout, they can get up to, a certain amount of beer, bottle of wine. Is that something that would help keep some alcohol off the streets during the day, or?
I guess you'd have to consider whether or not, if you're seeing any violations, whether or not those violations are occurring with the closed containers that are supposed to be used to issue the alcohol at the food venues, or if the violations or the open containers are actually coming from somewhere else. I'm not sure if we're seeing, I don't know. Does anyone know anecdotally if we're seeing the violations with the alcohol containers that are being sold with the food? Ben Reesum?
Yeah, I've talked a lot with Mike Shea. I've also talked with the chief a lot. I've talked with a number of folks, even folks up at the Ocean View, and they're seeing an increase in trash, but as much damage and vandalism. Nobody said anything about takeout drinks. In other words, where it was with a meal. So just as a point of reference, I've not heard that from anybody, but they have said there's more cans or straws or something like that.
Yeah. Andre, does that answer your question, or does that? I mean, my feeling is that the thinking about it is a lot of those containers that things are being dispensed in from the food places. So I'm not sure that that's, and it is still allowed. I did check the governor's office on that this afternoon.
Do we want to keep allowing that is my question.
Well, it's like I said, the question is there a reason to not want to have it happen? What's the reason? Ben, is your hand up again? You're muted, Sven. You're muted. Go ahead.
One thing that I was very aware of this past weekend with some lines has been about social distancing while in lines. And I know that some of that has gone on to town property, or it's on private property, or it's a mixture. And I guess as we look at lines and social distancing, I'm wondering if there's any way to increase enforcement, like, for example, many of the stores have markings every 6 feet. Even a number of establishments have markings outside to 6 feet. But I haven't seen that in all businesses. And I'm thinking about whether it's in line for a ferry, it's in line to get into an establishment, it's in, and I'm just wondering, that to me is a big deal. DBR supposedly is working with the businesses when they're in the establishment, but I don't know that anybody's enforcing having a 6-foot requirement of marking space that meets the town requirements. And I don't know if that's something we can do or not, but I'd like to discuss that.
Well, I know that it's been said before by the governor's office that the bars and other establishments are responsible. The management is responsible for maintaining the proper distancing in lines. If you're waiting in a bar or waiting at some other venue, so I would think that would extend out to, if the line goes out the door and goes around the building, I would think that would extend to that, and that the management responsible for the line would also be responsible for either enforcing and or suggesting strongly the social distancing that should be appropriate.
Okay, I hear that. I haven't seen that, and I'm thinking specifically of 2 instances of which both Mr. Filippi and Mr. McComb are on. So maybe we can help them mark space, or I don't know. I'm just trying to think about how we reduce congestion. And to Andre's point, how do we reduce big gatherings, which happen in 2 cases, to be while people are trying to get into around establishment.
Chris Willie.
Obviously, the governor's words aren't helping a whole lot right now.
Right.
And so, Andre or Martha or anybody have an idea of what we could do?
Hold on, Chris got his hand up. Chris, go ahead. You're back with us.
I've been here the whole time. Everything that is getting brought up, and Sven, to your point, it just boils down to enforcement. And that's been a problem for 4 months. Doesn't matter what we do, doesn't matter what we pass, doesn't matter what emergency is going on. It boils down to who's going to enforce. DBR? Nope. Department of Health? Nope. Town of New Shoreham? Nope. So figure that problem out first before we start trying to figure out how to space people 6 feet apart. Okay? That's the root of our issues, is how we can manage the enforcement end of it. And we're not getting help from the state other than having them send out some state troopers, which was very helpful. But if DBR doesn't have any enforcement abilities, what's the point? What is the point?
Chris, to your comment, just furthering that, I think if it's the business's responsibility per Ken, and I think he's right with the governor's statement, then maybe we need to make sure those businesses just remember that. And
we've been, Sven, we have interstate navigation is on our meetings every single time.
Right.
Every single time. Doesn't matter how many videos go out, how many pictures go out of people without masks on. You can't expect an 18-year-old deckhand to make a crowd of 30 teenagers put their masks on. Okay? There isn't an issue over in Narragansett, apparently, but when they come here, there's an issue. I don't know what the problem is, but you can have this discussion every single week. Okay? It's just a discussion. Unless we have a solid form to implement a plan, and you could say it's the business's responsibility all you want, but businesses, quite frankly, the majority of businesses have been doing the responsible thing. Okay? And the ones that aren't, what are you going to do?
Yep.
I mean, I'm asking, what are we going to do? Because there isn't much you can do. You know, right at the very beginning of this pandemic, I coined the term I used was a social contract. Well, that went out the window probably 48 hours into it. So how are we going to reestablish that? I mean, I don't have an answer. I'm asking, like, I don't know. The crowds lining up. Yeah, that's a problem. Everybody have a mask on, it wouldn't be as much of a problem. These big orange signs that we got are great. Now that it's 3 weeks left of the summer, but they're great. We could have had those 2 months ago. I mean, the compliance with mask wearing, I think, is definitely better, but it's, you know, not ideal, but that helps.
And just to further that, Chris, Charlene did make those blue signs we had up for a long time, or still have up, but the orange ones are pretty violent. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you.
So, you know, whatever emergency ordinances we want to pass, change, whatever. I mean, just add in how it's going to be enforced, for the love of God, because it doesn't mean anything unless it's enforced. It really doesn't. And this is, you know, I'm not just talking about locally. I'm talking about at the state level. The DBR came out and wanted our assistance locally, and we couldn't give it to them. So, I mean, I don't know, like, how do you enforce it? You know, how do you enforce 200 people lining up to stand 6 feet apart? You can't. Okay. If 75% of the people on this island are doing the right thing, I personally think we're doing pretty darn good. Because I don't think you're going to get the other 25, personally.
I think I had someone who had their hand raised, but I've just lost them. Molly, do you have a participant in the waiting room?
Ken, can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I mean, my observations is the DBR has been very present out here and has been very helpful to businesses. But when there are violations and there aren't repercussions, why is that business going to be motivated to do anything better? And I think there are some businesses that are in a position where they are, I mean, I don't know how, we'll just take the ferries, for instance, how are they supposed to manage? Let's just say that boat is at 50% capacity, 40% capacity, 30% capacity. I mean, are they supposed to put a bunch of policemen on or a bunch of security people on and make, you know, I mean, I'm asking for those solutions. I don't have them, but I don't know how you do it.
Right.
You're
I have a
asking,
question.
you're asking people to do something that I think the point was made earlier, that the longer the day goes on, the less likely they are to do it when they're out in the sun, drinking or not, just out in the sun and the day goes on, you know, you forget.
Martha, go ahead.
Yeah, I brought this up a long time ago, and I'm going to bring it up again. And I know we're halfway through August, but why can't we get the Coast Guard? Does the Coast Guard still follow in the boat the way it used to?
No.
What do they do? Why can't we get some Coast Guard people on the boat? They're Homeland Security. They are the only armed service that has civilian arrest powers. They're in uniforms.
Bill
Why can't we at least ask them?
Bill McComb, do you have an answer, or can you enlighten us on that?
Sure. Can you ask me the question again?
Martha, go ahead.
If we need help in, I don't think anybody expects the deckhands on the boat to be having these confrontations with people. Simply, why can't we just get a few Coast Guardmen with, in uniform? They have a better presence. They have they're under Homeland Security anyway. I mean, the Eagle's floating around. Grab some people off the Eagle. Bring the Eagle over here. But it just seems like I brought this up before. I don't know why we don't seem to be able to get any help from anybody, or else we don't want it. And I don't understand this, because the answer I always get is we can't do that. And I'm kind of tired of we can't do that.
So, Bill, the question is whether or not we can get the Coast Guard to help with enforcement on the ferries in terms of mask and social distancing, I believe.
You're asking me about the Coast Guard. I'm not in the Coast Guard.
Okay.
I think the forum and where this is really getting kind of off track. I don't have any problem discussing some of the individual business plans, but this isn't the forum that I plan on doing it in.
Okay. Chris Willie, did you have your hand up?
No, sorry.
Okay, sorry. Carlos, did you have your hand up?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I think the question that the Councilor Willie raises is really important. I do agree with what I was able to follow, because I kept getting thrown out of Zoom by the machines, about the breakdown in, and I think he put it very well, the social contract. But I also am very concerned about, and as he put it, the enforcement. I note that in your emergency ordinance of June 24th about mask wearing, point 6 instructs the New Shoreham Police Department to enforce the provisions of this emergency ordinance. And I was very troubled to read in the Block Island Times that there was some pushback from the police department, and left me wondering, why wouldn't an emergency ordinance by the town be enforced by the chief enforcement arm of the town? Further, I've been troubled to see police on the streets without mask wearing in close proximity to other residents. And if the chief enforcers aren't enforcing and are not modeling the behavior we want, I can see how we would end up in a situation where a social contract is breaking down, and some people feel that they do not have to wear the masks or listen to anyone. I would also, I guess the question I would have is, the emergency ordinance in point 5 says that any person who violates this ordinance will be subject to a fine of up to $50 for each violation. So since June 24th, when this ordinance was adopted by the council, and I applaud the council for its actions, and I applaud Councilor Sven for his courage, given the questions he had about the prior motion. I think it's courageous politically to do what one knows is right, even though it might not be perfect. So I guess the question I have is, how many people have been cited and subjected to the fine of $50 that the town of New Shoreham instructed? Because I agree with Mr. Willie. It's unfair for just the businesses to have to carry the enforcement. And you all, I'm sure, have seen all these horror stories from around the country of teenagers being confronted, accosted, even beaten by people who just don't think laws and rules apply to them. So thank you, Mr. Lacoste, for this opportunity, and I'm eager to hear your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. I think the answer, I'm not sure I can answer the question directly. I don't know specifically, but to my knowledge, no one has been issued a citation or a fine involving that $50 fine that he questioned about. They had a question about. Comments or questions?
I would defer to the town manager. That's a question for the town manager, I think.
Jim, are you there?
Both the evening that the emergency ordinance was passed, numerous times it was stated by numerous town councilors that it was done for the purpose of supporting the state order that already was in place, recognizing, stated numerous times that it was likely that there wouldn't be citations issued. I don't know that it is true that none have been, because I know there have been a number of citations issued for a number of things that we're not aware of. The police officers here and in every other community have to be cognizant of keeping order across all the different misbehaviors. Given both the circumstances with the virus and the other circumstances that have been prevalent across the country in the last number of months, getting into an altercation or some other kind of issue with somebody about a mask is not something that's in the interest of the public in Block Island or anyplace else. I can provide all manner of quotes from governors, mayors, city managers, anybody in authority where they will say, we are not looking for adversarial enforcement of mask wearing. We're not looking to create mask police. What we're looking to do is to communicate as the position of authority the importance of wearing masks and to provide your law enforcement people with, in the case, as I explained a number of times through March, April, and May, with the capacity to enforce in the case where somebody is blatantly resisting. However, I think most people on this call also know that in any individual case, if you have a health concern or other exemption, all you have to do is state that exemption. You don't have to prove you have a health issue. You only have to say, I have a health issue, so I don't have to wear a mask. So it's in that context that law enforcement are attempting to provide education and reinforcement. And we've done it a number of different ways with CSOs, with volunteers, with the police department for enforcing masks. But people should hear this. If a police officer says to somebody, you need to stop, and they don't stop, then by definition, almost it goes to another level. It either does, or that police officer has to make a judgment, a decision on the spot. If it does go to another level, we're now going to another level based on a mask. We have to consider all of that when we talk about enforcement. And I think it's not been a simple set of circumstances from the beginning of this, but I think there's more to a police officer interacting with somebody about masks than I think a lot of people actually understand it to be. You have to consider that if there's an interaction between a law enforcement officer and somebody else about something that's not being done correctly, and that person openly is defiant about it, in this case, there are exceptions that they can be defiant about it, but if they're defiant about it, a police officer it's incumbent upon that police officer to address the situation. Otherwise, their authority is undermined across the board. That's one of the things I want people to consider now, and as we go through some number of months forward. Our police force has operated in essence similarly. I've talked to city managers, other places, in essence, very similar to other places in this state and other states. I think the difference here in Block Island compared to some other places is that there is a different demographic. That demographic changes daily, right? So it's not the same people living in the town. We've gone over this. So we replace everybody, not everybody, but a large number of people we replace every day. So there are a number of differences here in Block Island that don't relate necessarily to interaction between law enforcement and the people who are misbehaving as it relates to masks. One more thing, DBR has been out, as a number of counselors have stated. They have issued letters to businesses. They have followed up with those letters. In some cases around the state, they have closed businesses down. So it's also not accurate to say that DBR has not enforced. It may not be to people's satisfaction, but it's not accurate to say they haven't enforced. So that's where we are. It's been a multi-agency effort. I don't think anybody's necessarily satisfied with it, but it's not accurate to say that that enforcement hasn't been happening.
Thank you, Jim Kern. Andre, back to your original question, if you want.
What was my question? I don't think I had a question. I don't think it was me. Chris had his hand up a little while ago.
I think we transgressed from it, but
Want to remind me? I'm sorry. I was listening to Carlos speak so eloquently about the current situation of Block Island, and Carlos basically, we've received many letters that say exactly what you're saying, and these are challenges that we are working through in unprecedented times, I would say. But I certainly appreciate you calling up and bringing this up. We do have issues with the enforcement, and it's not just with masks. But we all get fired up about that. But I think if we, when really thinking about this, looking above my town and looking down on that, I have to agree with my chief. Whereas if we were to provide police for every issue that everybody had, we would need 200-300 police officers on. Some of us felt we could do better with that. But we're right now we find ourselves dealing with a situation that we're in. I personally would like to see more enforcement with masks, because as Chris said, you're going to get 75. You're never going to get 20 or 25. It's just the way it is. There's always some excuse. Now I've recently heard some, story dentists are saying, mask mouth is a thing, which rotting teeth, come on. So, like you said, we are working our way through these challenges, personally with the enforcement on my end. We have coolers, people getting off the coolers, people getting off the ferry with coolers, young people full, and they're basically like the parking lot down there. I mean, I've seen them right outside the chamber, just, at Party Central down there on the bench in front of the chamber. Why can't, they do something about that? I ask I pose these questions like you do. But I think that we would need many more police officers to take care of all this. I think we need our police more on the roads for moving violations, like, with what I said earlier about the mopeds. I think this is, causing a lot of issues in this town, and it has for many years. But, I certainly hear you. I would hope that we can address these moving forward. But unfortunately, nobody really wants to hear this, but I'm going to say is that, we're not going to come to tomorrow, everything won't be fixed tomorrow. We're learning as the folks who govern this town as we go, and because we're in the middle of a pandemic. And I can assure you, I don't want to make the same mistakes that we made along this route next summer. So Carlos, I appreciate your input. Those are my thoughts on it. I agree with you. I also feel as though we have challenges with our enforcement authorities. But right now, we need to work through those as our community, and and have dialogue about it. And I wish more people like you would step forward so we could have your dialogue, because you've heard, people have heard it from us for so long. So, Sven had courage. Carlos, you have some courage by speaking out against this tonight. And thank you for calling.
Sven Reason.
One thing that if I heard it right, and Ken, I believe you said it earlier, so I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I think you said we're going to try and meet next week with the chief's plan. And I believe that's a really important next step, is to meet, whether it's closed session or open session, at least to start really understanding from a safety point of view. To Andre's point, I think we've learned a lot. I think we need to build a comprehensive plan. Personally, I am not worried about, but I am very conscious of September and October. And I think tourism is going to be up, and if things don't change, it's not going to get necessarily easier. And so I think if we can meet with the chief, I know he asked for that or mentioned it, and I look forward to that, not just for 2021, but this fall. I'd like to plan, or at least think through the plans for the worst. Worst meaning it's continuing, not getting better. And as I think the town council, everybody on the council knows, in September, based on traditional staffing, our police force gets a little smaller, and the state police, from a resource point of view, is shortened up and reduced. So there are some things that will be happening in September, October, just by a resource numbers point, that I think we need to talk through and understand both the health risks as well as the financial risks. So again, if we can have that meeting as soon as you and the chief identify it, that would be great to build this plan.
But yeah, definitely. We have a regular council meeting scheduled for next Wednesday, and I believe we already intended to put an item on the agenda at some point to talk over security plans with the chief. Other items that may come up either as a result of this meeting or in between now and Friday can be sent to Molly or myself for inclusion on the agenda for Wednesday. Are there any other further issues or discussions on our items on the agenda tonight? Carlos?
Just maybe trying to meet y'all halfway. I really appreciate your feedback. Do you think it would be unreasonable to ask our police force, in the very least when they're in a crowded place like on Water Street in the middle of the day, that they should be wearing masks? Could we try to at least get them to do that, or when they're interacting with the public, that they be wearing a mask? Thank you very much.
I think the police officers wear their masks at times when they feel is appropriate. There are other times when they feel they do not wear them for other reasons. I believe they've been asked to wear them as much as possible, and I have seen them with them on. There are instances where they psychologically do not wear them for other reasons, but we've certainly asked them to do that as much as possible, and they have complied to a certain extent. So, Councilman Willie.
I would disagree with your statement, Ken. That's all.
You certainly well within your right to do that. Thank you. Any other items for the agenda discussion tonight? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Are we all done talking about this ordinance? Do we have to vote to close the ordinance? What do we need to do with that?
I was trying to say something.
Okay, Martha, go ahead.
Can you hear me? No, all I was going to say was, Ken, I thought I was the only person who saw policemen with masks on. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre, I don't think we need to, I think the action was taken, so I don't think we need to close anything or anything like that.
Oh, okay. I just was making sure that we were like,
No.
We don't want to discuss reducing the number of mopeds while we got the ordinance open.
We can do that, or we could, like I said, we can certainly have that if you want to bring that discussion up on Wednesday night as a agenda item, or you can do it. You can open it. You have the floor.
No, if we can prepare for this for Wednesday, we can talk about it on Wednesday. Will we be able to talk about it on Wednesday? That's the question.
Yes, why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an agenda.
I agree, and I think, Andre, if I can, Ken, I'd also even like to talk about medallion GPS potential. So, like, does the medallion have GPS capability so we can actually know when they went down a dirt road and the ticket can be issued automatically? So I think there's a number of potential ideas that I'd love to discuss.
Remember, if you had yarn that put so many people in ambulances, I'm going to leave
You
it.
wouldn't make yarn.
You'd be out of business real quick. So if you want to adjourn, yep, I'm all good. We can wait till Wednesday.
And let's just not make it complicated now. Complicated is for next year. We're not going to get complicated measures taken care of this year. And I think and if anybody has a different idea or a new approach to an old idea, great. But please don't bring back everything that's happened before and hasn't worked.
Thank you, Martha.
I wasn't around before, Martha, so.
I'll tell you.
I know, and I appreciate it. Second your motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Andre. You remembered.
I did.
Motion on the floor to adjourn. All those in favor, Andre?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative also. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for the evening. And like I said, council, make sure you get any items you want on the agenda for Wednesday to Molly by tomorrow afternoon if possible, or at least by Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Thanks for everybody for making it happen.
Thank you, Catherine. Good night.
Right.
Night.